Alicia Amerson, and I went to ENMU, where I got a Bachelor's of Science in Biology and a minor in business. And now I work at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratories Marine and Coastal Research Lab in Sequim, Washington, and I'm a marine biologist. The research that I'm leading is looking at a tethered balloon system. So, those big red or white balloons that look like little alien ships for atmospheric science. Well, we're flying them at a lower altitude and putting a variety of sensors, so multispectral sensors that can have an opportunity to look into the water to see animals, thermal cameras so we can see heat profiles from like large whales or birds or seals, and then also like RGB, so just like the normal camera of like the spectrum that we can see in. So all of these different sensors allow us to take different perspectives of what's happening with animal behavior. So this balloon kind of gives us an idea of how animals are moving and their presence or absence. And then that's the Instagram post that I think Dr. V shared with you earlier. I'm also working on seabird response to these devices. So how are seabird sensory modalities impacted by anthropogenic light or diving birds going into the water to get prey? And then also I'm part of the Office of Science and Technology. So this is a federal agency, their biodiversity interagency working group. And in that working group, there's a task force looking at how do we standardize eDNA collection. So environmental is the E, and then DNA. So outside in our world right now, there's lots of just DNA hanging out. And so we've been able to collect this environmental DNA or this eDNA and be able to process it. That's a lot of what I've been working on, along with designing different technologies for collecting eDNA. So using air DNA technologies and passive filtering to collect eDNA in water. So that's kind of how biodiversity research works, is combining all of these different science areas to kind of look at a full picture program and help to understand how we can do better in our environment. I was born in Farmington, New Mexico, and when I was 6, we moved to Los Alamos, and my family is the 3 of us, so my parents and me, and I'm the first to graduate with a university degree, so my parents were really excited about that. So at ENMU and growing up in New Mexico in general, I rode horses. I loved horses. I did 4-H in high school, and then eventually college rodeo, and was part of the ENMU rodeo team. And I still have horses today. I don't rodeo anymore, but I still ride a lot. And I also practice and teach yoga. So I took my first yoga class at ENMU and loved it. And just about 10 years ago, started practicing more regularly and just fell in love with it, and then started teaching it. I love running, being active outdoors. I do a lot of outdoor activities. So yeah, I think a lot of the hobbies that I have today were things that I was doing 20 years ago when I was at ENMU. So it's kind of fun to look back on the love of all of these things that I've been working on outside of work. My parents thought that going to ENMU would be a safer choice for me. So when we were looking at schools across New Mexico, my parents were a little bit more afraid for me to go to UNM or NMSU because they're just really big campuses. And then also, there's crime and other things. And so I had rodeoed my whole life, and so we'd been over to eastern New Mexico quite a bit, and so my parents just liked the feel of it. I just loved it there, and I loved the campus. I loved how small it is, and there were just some professors there that I really loved learning from. The simplicity of Portales and just, the 2 one-way streets, small campus, the rural areas, it's just there's not a lot of like pretentiousness that you get in bigger schools. And so, I don't know, it's just whatever the heart of New Mexico is, you can find it there. And I just really love that about our school. So I ping-ponged between science and business because I've always been very interested in like entrepreneurial pursuits, but I've always, tested stronger in science. And I think the curiosity that I have just for our natural world is all the questions you have can be answered with science. I don't know, I just easily fell into the science classes, and the more I put into my course schedule, the more I loved them. And then it's kind of funny because I look back now on my career, and I'm a marine biologist, but I also am certified in project management, and I have been since 2012, so quite a long time. And project management is the business side of running anything. Like, you're running a budget, you're helping people achieve their milestones, and you're scheduling things, and you're talking to sponsors, and you're getting funding in the door. And so all those things that you need to do as a scientist to really, get your science across happens through really effective project management. And so I'm really thankful that I took the business classes because it makes me a better scientist. So I think one thing that's really cool about being a Greyhound, we're a small school, but we have a lot of strong spirit. And so a lot of people that I met at ENMU, we still are, Greyhound proud and carry the green and silver. So I think it's really, really awesome. And I also really appreciate that, that ENMU took to heart for women in sports to be Zias. Who doesn't want to be a Zia, So I think that showing women that they have a choice, that they can be proud, and that they are seen was a really, really, really key element for ENMU. And it was like, that happened years ago. And so it's just so advanced, and like, if you look at, those are things that some schools are doing now, right? And ENMU already did it. So I think that's something they should be proud of. Yeah, I got an athletic honor for academics for 4.0 semester. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. We launched the ENMU Wildlife Club while I was there, and I was the first secretary of the club, and I really love that we put that club together, and I think it still exists today. I loved being on the rodeo team. That was a big part of my experience, and yeah, I loved all the kids and sharing the experiences and traveling around together, and flat tires and all the fun stuff that happened. So that was just such a great experience. So that was really fun. I think the campus may have changed a little bit since I was there, but one of my favorite spots is the middle of the campus where the fountain is. I'm hoping it's still there, but oh, it's not. Oh, that's really too bad, because I loved that fountain. It connected all the walkways between the buildings, and so you're always going to run into somebody. And it was just nice because people would hang out at the fountain. Yes, I love that. The other place I love a lot is the library, which has also changed since I was there. But there was so many fun study sessions, and yeah, I just used to love going through all the science journals, and yeah, just meeting up with friends and getting ready for big tests, especially for Dr. V's classes. They're so hard. So yeah, it was really fun. My favorite professor, and the one who's made the hugest impact on my life since leaving ENMU and while I was there, is Dr. Varela. So Dr. V, he's just an outstanding person. He loves his students and he loves his science, and his favorite phrase is, "You're killing me!" And it was meant to be for fun. So like if your Bunsen burner is like way too high, or you dropped the Petri dish, or you overcooked your Petri dish sample in the autoclave, just like he made mistakes fun and acceptable in science, and that's like something you definitely don't get in the real world. And so I loved that about the classes with him. His classes are so hard. They're so hard, but they make you so smart. So I loved that, but he makes science really fun and acceptable. And then after school, he's been this incredible reference for me. So jobs, getting into graduate school, helping me when I was a teacher at one point get started. So he has all these resources, and he's like, anytime I have ever emailed him, he has always come back and said, yes, I will help you. And I just am grateful for his continued friendship and mentorship over the last, I guess, 20 years. So my favorite class at ENMU was medical microbiology. So it's just the best class. So basically what you do is you read a bunch of scientific papers and you learn how to read them and decipher what the heck they're saying in these science papers, because you look at, journal papers and you're like, oh, how do you even understand what's going on here? So you learn how to read the papers, and then you're learning about all of these microbes that cause all of the worst diseases ever. Like so much like dysentery and blood loss and like fluid loss, and like, you're just learning about, because it's all about the microbes that are medically doing something to make you very, very sick. And so one of the things is like this forensic mystery, medical mysteries. And so Dr. V will give you a medical mystery and you have to go and try to figure out what the patient has. And those are super fun. I am still thinking about getting a PhD, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like, when it's too old to get a PhD, I don't know. So sometimes I like let that dream go, and sometimes it comes back. And then we're in the process of adopting a baby. So one day I'll be a mom. So I'm really excited about that. And then I just want to keep growing this biodiversity research program at PNNL. And so my dream is that our laboratory is part of the national science that's really contributing to biodiversity. So those would be the three things that I'm dreaming about. Okay, so the Department of Energy has 17 national labs across the US, and I work at one of them. And inside DOE, there's an internship called SULI, S-U-L-I. And in the SULI internship, you can work at any lab that you choose. You can pick a scientist working there that you love to work with. You can pick a topic that you're interested in, and they place you at these different labs across the US. And so if you're interested in staying in New Mexico, you have Lanel, you have Sandia. So it's really amazing to have like local labs so nearby where ENMU is, but also you could come up here to Washington to PNNL, or go to Oak Ridge in Tennessee. So that's a really cool program. So I would say anybody at ENMU in any field that wants to do a SULI internship, check out the DOE Department of Energy SULI internship. And then if you want to become a marine biologist or ecologist or biologist at large, there are organizations like earthwatch.org where you can try your hand at scientific field work. So they offer people to come and volunteer and collect citizen science data on animals. There's also programs like the California Ocean Alliance hosts amazing marine biology programs with field applications. I would say learn bioinformatics, be able to code, learn R or Python, be creative. Start thinking about ways to combine scientific areas. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of data out there, like so much data that has never been analyzed. So don't feel scared to reach out to people who have data. And if you have a question and you know someone has data, go and grab it and just go for it. The next and most important thing, if you want to be a scientist, is to learn how to communicate your science. So hone in on your artistic design. Take as many communication classes as you can, especially those focused on science communication. Learn to give an elevator pitch, write a proposal, clearly and concisely say your research and its impact. So why you're doing it and why it's impactful, and then draw what you're doing. Say things with pictures, because science words are huge and they just you can get really mixed up in them. So draw things, show people what you're doing, and use all of your talents. And that's what I'd say and give advice to anybody who's interested in being a marine biologist or scientist.